Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Real Women, Real Talk. Yes, y'all are here. We are here. You see there are three faces on this screen. If you are listening, just know that there are three of us, not two. So we are in for a treat. My name is Trenace Richardson, and I am the founder of Real Women. And my sister co-host is...
Oh, me. That's me.
Not
it's like, me. You're so cute. Okay. It's me. It's me. I'm the co-host too.
That's her. That's
Shavon Carter. I'm a Real Women facilitator. Yes.
That is she. That's her. That was too funny. So we are joined by another sister, and we cannot wait to tell you more about her. We're going to jump right in. You have been here before. Perhaps you have told somebody about us, or you have been told about us. We are going to tell you some amazing things as we move forward about our organization that we represent, Real Women Rock. But for now, if you are interested in who we are, go to realwomenrock.org, realwomenrock.org. And we're just going to give you a sneak peek into what it's like to be with us. And we'll give you more information in just a minute. We don't always have a guest, but we are growing up. We are in our 40s now with these episodes. And so we are evolving and bringing on guests. And so this is our third guest. And we just could not think of anyone better to bring to you. And I just want to make sure you understand who this woman is. She is a storyteller. She is a soulful advocate. She's a psychotherapist. And I'm going to let her tell you about her being a human defroster in just a minute. Sherry Phaeton is living out loud. She's living her own journey of healing and evolution and freedom while inspiring other women on how to do the same. She is a devout traveler, an unapologetic foodie. She's a mixed fit fanatic and intentional about living a life full of gratitude with little regrets. She is the founder of Divine Soul Reflections and her own company where she is an LPC and an NCC, and she's located in the Hampton Roads, Virginia area. She's a wife and a grandmother, and she's also a facilitator, a lead facilitator for Real Women. And so one of our sisters is joining us for the Hampton Roads Circle. Shout out to our RWRT Circle. We love y'all. HR now. We love her so much. She is, I just want to say real quick, we kind of do you some honors when you're here as a guest, Sherry. So just on a personal note, I just want to say, we love to say that we have known each other since we were in patent leather shoes and pigtails. And she has been a sister beloved to me. And for so many reasons, life has reconnected us, and we picked up right where we left off and have been rolling tight ever since. And she speaks life to me. And I love relationships that are reciprocal and mutual. And I have that with my sister, Sherry. And so I just want to, before you say hey to the people, I just want Shavon to be able to, anything you want to say about our sister before we let her say hey to everybody.
Sherry, let me tell you what, Sherry is my sister. I love her so much. We've just grown and developed a bond. Like, we just had a little fun together over the weekend, and just, yeah, I don't even know what else to say other than she is a beautiful soul. Glad to be on this journey of life with her, and I'm glad to have you with us tonight.
So, Sherry, do you want to say hello to the people? Please let us know anything you want to say about yourself, especially that human defroster child. Say hey to the people.
Well, first of all, hey people, hey beautiful souls, viewers, listeners, everyone. I'm so excited to be here, first of all. And I know they are referring to me as a guest, which is sort of awkward because these are my sisters. And so I know this is the first time on the big platform, the Real Women Rock Talk. Is that what it is?
You got it. Go
platform. But I am not a guest. These are my sisters. We vibe. We do life together. We pour into each other, as you have heard. And so I am just so excited, first of all, to be here And thank you for that amazing, beautiful introduction. Enough said. You know, I am a facilitator at the Real Women Hampton Roads circle. Have been doing that. Oh my gosh, what year? Don't get me to lie.
Girl.
I want to say maybe around 2017, 2018 was the inception of that. Even though we are not in the DMV area, most of our Real Women's sisters are in the DMV area. So we're sort of like the lone child sometimes in the Hampton Roads area.
But let me tell you something. I'm going to interrupt your hello to say Real Women HR is strong. You hear me?
We are.
Down, so.
Absolutely. I'm so proud of the growth. And of course, it was because of the DMV and all of the other sisters who upheld us and supported us along the way. But we are strong. I was just messing. I like to say that we're sort of the stepchild, but we don't feel like the stepchild. We are very much a part of each other. But again, very excited to be here.
Yay. Listen, we look at the events because you're so creative. Your team is so creative. We end up looking at y'all's events like, oh my God, they did what? They had some fun over there.
Yeah.
So thank you.
We got a lot of the millennials running things in the Hampton Roads, you know, and so they bring the energy, they bring the vibes. We have a time.
Yeah, it makes a difference. So we'll get to talk about Real Women in more detail toward the end, and especially our intensive. Excited about that. We're going to, with you, Sister Sherry, we're going to walk through our episode segments, and we are excited to do that. And so our first segment is Real Talk. We just like to check in. You know how people will ask how you doing and they just expect you to say fine. I had somebody ask me one time, I asked them how they were doing and they said something crazy like, I feel like I'm ready to hurt myself or something. And oh, they got me so good because I said, oh, good, glad to hear that, and moved on. And they said, excuse me, I just wanted to see if you were paying attention, and you were not. So, so it's really important, I think, to ask how people are doing and how they are really doing. So, Sherry Phaeton, Real Talk, how are you doing today?
So at this moment today, I'm doing real good. I am doing really, really well. I have, as Shavon said, came out of a very fun weekend. Before that, a cruise. And so really for the last weekend and a half, I've been having fun, traveling, bonding with my sisters and bonding with my family. So I am feeling real good and light right now. Absolutely. And if you've asked me that 3 months ago, and this is going to be a little bit of what we get into later, it would have been a totally different story. But I am grateful at this moment. I am doing well. Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. Ooh, I can't wait to dig in. It sounds like full. You are full as well. It's lighter. Whew. Okay. Shavon, how you doing?
Yeah, I am not okay, but I will be okay. I don't want to go into too much because I don't feel like crying right now. But yeah.
As your sisters, as soon as you popped on, we were like, you are not okay. How are you?
Yeah.
So we thank you for being here with us. And we are here hopefully to lift your spirits or comfort you in whatever way this episode can. And you know, we are here to hold space for you. So.
Absolutely. And thank you for being transparent, because I think people need to see how it looks to say those words, you know, that I'm not okay, but I'm going to be okay. I'll be okay, you know, type of thing. But just to be honest in things, especially when you're in a safe space, is so important.
Yeah, so good. So good. Well, I am getting back in the swing of things after vacation time. And so the catch up is real, but I have decided I am not going to let anybody stress me out or rush me. And so I have not been opening up my computer after my 9-to-5 work, except for the things that I want to do for Real Women. Wow. Girl, I'm showing off. I am showing off. And it's showing, it's showing up at work too. People are like, oh my goodness, you seem so relaxed. You're glowing, you're tanned, all the things. And I'm like, yes, we're gonna keep that that glow for a little while. So I'm doing well. I'm doing well. So thank you for answering that honestly. We end up asking during the real talk just something that we want to know, a discussion starter, something that we've been wondering. And so I have a fun question. I heard it asked recently, and I thought it would be fun to ask you all. The real talk question is, real talk, on what do you spend too much money on that you are almost ashamed to admit? Why y'all looking like that? Why you look like that?
I'm like, first of all, mind your business. Like,
Right. Stay in your lane.
First,
Get out of mine.
Leave me on Front Street.
Question. Go ahead.
So just, I mean, almost ashamed to admit it, but you know you spend too much money on this. Who wants to go first? Why is it so silent? Why is it so silent?
Go ahead.
Now, I know y'all can take a wild guess to probably guess what mine is.
Let me see if I can. Let me see.
I'm going to name a few things and you can tell me. Okay.
I'll let you know if you're getting
too much money. So I want to say travel. I want to say food. Travel, food.
That's the two that for me.
Those are the two that come. Okay, there we go.
Food, and food.
Okay.
Absolutely. It was so funny. I heard on it, I don't know if I was looking at a podcast or something on television, but they said, look at your bank statement, and that will tell you what you truly prioritize and what's really important. Girl. And when I say, this has been several years ago, y'all, I was so embarrassed when I looked at my bank statement and saw how much money I was spending on food.
Yeah.
First of all, I do very little cooking, if any. When I say little, like special occasions, like family.
You didn't mean once a week.
Let me break it down so you guys get a clear picture, right? I don't do hardly any cooking ever, right? I did cook for Father's Day for my husband, but on special occasions outside of that, I'm eating constantly.
Yeah. I get it. I don't know if you ready to go, because I got words for this, for what she just said, but
yes.
Go ahead,
so
Shavon.
Sherry and I are sisters. You know why? Because that is mine. And specifically Uber Eats. Every week I am ordering something delivered. And you know what make it so bad? And I don't care. I order Blue Apron meals every week to cook. And that's the company where you prepare the meals. So I get a box of 3 meals that I can prepare every week. And those meals will sit in that refrigerator, and I will say, you know what? I don't feel like cooking. I'm just gonna order busboys and poets. And it don't be like no little Chick-fil-A. It be like $50, $70 meals.
Absolutely. Like, yes.
I'm spending money like I am a street pharmacist. Absolutely. Yes.
I still can relate. Yeah.
Okay, so we just gonna go 3 for 3. We're just gonna go 3 for 3.
That's what we're doing.
That's right.
I'm so serious. It's my answer. It's my answer. But so both of you all, for different reasons, but I don't believe either of you all are necessarily feeding minors, right? Y'all aren't feeding minors.
I'm my family.
So
I'm a whole
right, you the family, right? So this is so funny. But so serious, like my money is spent on food, but it's because I have a teenager in the house who guzzles food, like is a human garbage disposal when it comes to food. And I just can't keep it in the house. And I do cook, maybe on a good week, it's once a week, or on a real good week, it's twice, but it's usually not. It's usually once a week, and I make enough to last a couple of days. And that can be there, and then it's gone. And then it's like, what am I going to do? Well, there's hot dogs, there's noodles. I done taught you how to do all of that. Go ahead and boil something.
Yeah.
But even that gets old, and so it ends up being eaten out, or me going. Even just my grocery store bill is the biggest, is the biggest bill. So yeah, food. I am ashamed to admit it because I should be finding smarter ways to buy, bulk, to cook, to I want to. I really do. It doesn't sound like Shavon feels guilty at all.
I was like, oh my goodness, I don't feel any shame at all.
Yeah. Well, this goes back to a recent previous episode where you're living two lives, working two jobs, and you was like, until this one pays, like this one pays, I need to maintain my lifestyle. So you just need to you get to eat.
This is my lifestyle for sure.
This is your lifestyle. And see, with me, it's almost like, even though my kids are like early 30s now, so let me tell y'all the whole truth and paint the picture. But I didn't realize how much pressure I was under when I was raising them, like how much responsibility I had, feeding 3 mouths every day.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, and I didn't realize how much pressure it was until I came out of it. So I have been in, I guess, rewarding seasons, you know, for all those years that I was responsible for keeping these human beings alive. Then I deserve to eat out. I deserve to eat some things. Of course, you know, my account is saying differently, you know, and I have gotten better over the last months, but that was sort of a forced situation because I have less disposable income right now. And so I have been forced to limit the times that I'm eating out, you know. But I sort of felt like I've been in this season of just rewarding myself of all those years of having to cook.
It's so funny you say that, because when those, you know, whether it's in between paychecks or just seasons where things are tight and I can't buy out as much, you know, eating out as much as I want to, I'm like, this is what I should be doing anyway. Let me go ahead and put these, you know, things together that's already in the refrigerator and pull it together. Soon as I get a little bit of disposable income, I'm like, let's go.
Exactly. Put money aside for this.
Food is my love language. It's one of my love languages.
I'm sure we're not by ourselves. I will throw one more in the mix before I just ask our listeners and watchers to share theirs with us. I will share one more because I just realized how ridiculous this is, stupid and foolish and dumb, that I am now paying more for all of my TV apps than I ever paid for cable. And I'm like, how did y'all bamboozle me like this? Because I knew I was winning. I said, cable, you will not have my money anymore. I am leaving you, and I am going to the Roku, and I am only going to do the YouTube and the Netflix, and I am going to save this couple $100. And then the Hulu came, and then the Prime came, and then the Disney came, and then the Apple TV. It's ridiculous. It really is. So yeah, that's one where I need to get a handle on that one. But
And then on top of that, one last thing. So on top of the streaming things for me is the Patreon, because I want to know what happens behind the paywall for some of my favorite people. Like Tab on Stage and Tabitha Brown and Lawyer Butt.
They get you, boy. That FOMO will get you.
It's like,
somebody will say, "Oh, this is a good movie. It's a good I gotta binge on this." Okay, what is it on? It's on Hulu. God dog it, I don't have Hulu. Now I gotta get it for the
And don't talk about the free trials, because the free trials will get you caught up because you forget, So what I've learned to do is go ahead and cancel. When I sign up, I'll go ahead and cancel. So automatically, I learned my lesson the hard way on that.
Yeah, so true. Well, y'all have got to relate to at least one of these somewhere, somehow. You got to. So if this is you, we want to hear from you. Share with us what your guilty pleasure is that you're spending your money on. Go to speakpipe.com/Real Women Real Talk, or you can email us at info@realwomenrock.org. We have been getting some emails. Shavon, I got another one today that girl, it's not. So listen, send what y'all want to send, and then we're gonna vet them. But
Oh my, okay.
Girl.
It's always fun.
And so, but we do want to hear from you. So we would love to hear from you about this topic. That was fun. Thank y'all.
That was fun.
Okay, so we thought we would bring a little levity to the situation because our second segment is a deep dive. And I think we are going to the deepest of oceans today when it comes to our deep dive. This is our opportunity to really just hone in on some of the topics that we cover in Real Women, the topics that are really meaningful to us. And we just want to take you on a journey of discussion with us. We kiki, we laugh, we dance together. But the main purpose for us being connected is so that we can create a safe space to dig into some deep topics. And so we're going to go with a deep dive that our sister Sherry has been modeling in front of us so transparently and vulnerably. In addition to the work that she does, she has just a personal story around this, and she is the expert storyteller. And so we're going to call this just a question. I know many of these topics, Shavon likes to pose as questions oftentimes. So I'm just going to ask, for myself, am I menopausal or depressed? Which one is it? Which one is it?
Yeah.
And so it's a real thing for a lot of women. And if you are not there yet, perhaps it is, in your horizon. Who knows? I'm not going to speak that over you. But then also maybe it's a season that you have passed already. Wherever you are, someone who has experienced either menopause, menopausal symptoms, some phase of menopause, or depression on some level. And we want to talk about it. So I just wanted to start with you, Sherry, and just ask you what comes up for you when I ask that question, when I bring up those words. If you wouldn't mind sharing your own journey with us, whether you start professional or personal, you go where you'd like to go.
Absolutely. First of all, I just appreciate you guys creating space for this conversation. It affects so many women. And I believe that we are yet discovering the language to describe some of the symptoms and the experiences that we're going through. And so kudos to you guys. You guys have been doing the darn thing for a minute now. I don't know what episode that you're on. I have a lot of catching up to do, but this just has been such an amazing, what is it?
44. We grown, girl.
What? Y'all grown.
Yes.
44. Oh, I'm so proud of you guys. But just thank you for this space to talk about this. So I'm going to start with my personal story. When I first knew for sure that I was in perimenopause, and I'm going to sort of break down the difference of perimenopause, menopause, premenopause. You hear so many terms, so we're going to break that down a little later on. But when I knew for sure I was in perimenopause, it was 2018. And I remember that year because I was on my way to Jamaica, and I had not had a menstrual cycle for 7, 8, 9, 10 months, for a long period of time. Wow. Now, to take you back, my cycles have always been regular, like clockwork, had not been heavy, wasn't light, was just, maybe average day, 3 to 4 days, maybe 5 to in the higher range, 3, the lower range, and not much cramping, just very easy, right? This year, I started missing my cycle to the point I'm like, did this man knock me up? Okay. He was supposed to fix that years ago. Yeah. Let us not be the miracle. Okay. Yeah. So took the pregnancy test. It wasn't that. So I figured that I was going through, I don't even know if I knew the language of perimenopause at that particular time. I think I was saying menopause, right? That I must be close to menopause. And so had I had a cycle, I am literally packing, you guys. I think I had already packed. I am on my way to the airport to fly to Jamaica. And what was Sahara Desert, a monsoon hit me with my cycle. when I say I had never experienced such a heavy flow, it was just so, it was alarming to me, you know. I knew what it was from because I had not had a cycle. So I felt that my body had stored up for so many months and it had just released, you know, type of thing. But that is the year that I knew that I was in this new stage in my life, right? And so 2018, which is, so about 6 years ago. So I'm 50 now, so around 44 years old. Now, I believe that I might have been perimenopausal maybe just past my mid 30s because I was hot all the time. And at first I was explaining, like, I just must be one of those people that stay hot, right? And, you know, some young people complain about they're hot all the time. So I didn't even think of that. Was not the first thing that came to mind, but then it started happening at night, you know, really having those night sweats. I'm a type of person that I need covers on me. I don't care if it's 100 degrees. I'm going to have a comforter and sheets over me. So my husband's looking at me sideways because I'm hot, but yet I have this comforter and sheets on me. So I'm having to have the AC down to like 60 degrees, you know, all of that. Like he is looking at me like this woman's really lost her mind, right? So that's how it all started for me. It was, you know, the hot flashes, the night sweats, and the irregular cycle, which for a lot of women, it starts that way. So first it was just the physiological, right? So just those particular symptoms. And probably about 2 years ago when I experienced the psychological effects. And so again, I'm going to talk about the biological aspect of this, of why so many systems and parts of our body are affected. But I was in Spain, I was working in Spain. And I remember I was battling some type of virus. It felt like a cold, COVID, whatever, but I was fighting it for, it seemed like a month, like over a month, right? And during this time, I remember having this big presentation that the admiral flew in of the installation. I like these big wigs, right? And so we're doing this Martin Luther King program, and I was the featured speaker. And I remember you guys being in the middle of the speech and drawing, when I say a complete blank, not a word, not a sentence I could access. And so it was, now, you know, you guys are speakers, so you have times where you might like forget something for a moment. I'm talking about, you guys, it was nothing. Like I had nothing in me to even know which direction. There was no reference point. Okay. So remember this when we start talking about maybe the difference between depression and certain things that you experience in perimenopause. So I'm like, what is wrong with me? Okay. So that was, it was devastating to me.
Yeah.
It was, you can't leave us there.
Like, what happened?
So it took me, it felt like, you guys, minutes. It probably took me seconds, you know, I don't know, 10 seconds, but those seconds seemed like an eternity. Because when I say I could not pull anything, and I literally
notes in front of you or anything.
I had notes in front of me, but I lost as far as where reference point. It was just a totally like a deer stuck in headlight type of moment.
I got you.
So very traumatizing. They're very supportive, everything. Oh, you did, you know, all those type of things. Oh, you're lying to me, you know, type of thing. You're just trying to. But you're right. It was very traumatizing to me, right? And so after that, it was, of course, not a situation where there was a lot of people again, but I would notice and during conversations, I could not access certain words or vocabulary. I would go to spell like simple things like pencil and could not. And now here I am, the former spelling bee of my elementary. Let me let me give you some context.
You are an intelligent woman. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Never on a national stage, but I was a pretty good speller. And so we're not talking about vacuum, something tricky like that, or we're talking about simple words, right? And me just, my memory just being shot. So I'm like, is something cognitively or neurologically going on with me? I'm over in another country, you know, and that would have been a whole thing to try to set up certain tests and things. So I said, I'm gonna have to wait till I get back to the state. In the meantime, maybe a month after, maybe a month and a half after the presentation situation, I had another heavy cycle, which sent me to the hospital. It was so bad that someone had to escort me to the hospital because the flow was so heavy. Now, back up, during the point that I discovered that I'm in this perimenopause stage, and I was having my weekly checkups with my doctor, which is really important to do, you know, talking to your physician, she discovered a fibroid, which I had no idea that I had. So my cycle was affected not only by the perimenopause, but by the fibroid. And so because, and you, and it's more common, and see, all three of us. And for some reason, I know they have various research, but as Black women, that we are more susceptible or at risk of developing fibroids.
And let me just put a plug there, because I know we got women who are listening right now saying, oh my God, they're talking about this. Me too. Like I deal with all of this. And it is so important, I think, to just do all we can, if you haven't dealt with it yet, to just really do your best to eat better, drink a lot of water, just all the things that you could possibly do. Things might happen anyway. But I really wish before, and hindsight is 2020, but before I had them removed, I wish I had, you know, looked into some other options for myself beforehand, because you're right. It pushed me into menopause because I was dealing with fibroids so much. And so that's something that we all deal with, and it's going to be different for everybody. And you know, between you and your doctor, that's how you manage it and happen. But just, I believe a lot of that stuff grows in us, at least partially, are due to some stuff that we put in our bodies. And so I'm no different. Like I was there. So
Such a good point. And so going through, once I went to the hospital and the doctor had to prescribe me a medication for hemophiliacs, people that can't stop their blood flow. So that's how bad it was at that particular time. And so I fell into this really, what it felt like, a depression at that particular point, right? That I could not, I was so used to traveling. I was enjoying being over in Europe. I was traveling. I was really living my best life until this particular period, you know? And all of a sudden it came to a sudden stop, right? So could not bring myself to even go out with my girlfriend to a restaurant type of thing, or I just had no mental energy. I didn't, just to have a conversation was a lot of energy and things for me. And so
wait, Sherry, before you, so the bleeding, did this happen while the bleeding was still happening, or it was like as soon as the bleeding got under control, then you started to feel like what seemed like depression?
It was happening while, right? So before, while, and after. So this was probably about a month and a half, 2-month time period for me. And I think it was a mixture, because I definitely had a virus going on in my body. So it was the virus, it was the perimenopause, and it was like a mixture. It was like a perfect storm going on with me, right? But I remember the period was about 2 months or so. And so again, just could not, I had the desire to connect. I had the desire to do more, but I could not bring myself to that, right? And so I'll get more into far as the difference between, because a lot of what you're hearing, a lot of the viewers and the listener might be saying, well, gosh, that's what I go through. And you may know that you're depressed and type of thing. And so there are biological reasons why it's the experience between perimenopause and menopause and clinical depression is so similar, like it's biological reasons and things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so for about 2 months, went through that and came out of it. Back to travel. I think the next thing was Beyonce concert. Let's go to Germany. You know what I mean? So, I'm back type of thing.
Did it just subside by itself? You
It
just
subsided.
woke up and it was just like, oh, I feel better.
Medication?
No medication at that time besides what I was taking for the bleeding. And I might have had some cold type of medicine and things, but nothing psychological that I was taking at that particular point, because I felt like this has to lift. Like I have no reason to be sad type of thing. That's what I was telling myself at that particular time. And I had never experienced the psychological impact like that up until this point. Okay. So back living my best life, right? Preparing for 50, doing all these celebrations. I mean, you guys, I had not felt better. I felt my best physically, emotionally, the most comfortable in my skin. All of the things leading to 50. Sincerely, I felt at the time, right?
And you celebrated that 50, child.
So
did I? Did we? Okay. So
we did.
Y'all both made me look like amazing. Like,
listen,
get there. Yeah.
we want to welcome our sisters over with love.
Absolutely. It's about the narrative that you connect with, because that narrative is going to dictate how you show up in that space. So November comes around, back living my best life. September was my birthday month, celebrating all month, still traveling and things. And November, and I would say right before Thanksgiving, I felt me going back into the slump. Right? Because I remember
I'm sorry, was it connected to your bleeding?
No. So I did not have a heavy cycle.
Wow.
This time. It was just and when I say it felt abrupt, but looking back, I can't, in hindsight is 2020, right? That I can sort of mark it saying, okay, it took a little more effort for me to do certain things, right? Start saying no or not doing certain things that I'm normally excited about, And so at first it's like, oh, I just don't feel like it type of thing. Like, sure, you've been having this year of amazing things. You've been going. Maybe you're just tired, right?
Yeah.
And so November, this was towards, again, the end of November. November passes, December passes, January passes. I'm still there, you guys. And now when I'm still there, it seems like it's getting harder for me to connect. I have no energy to do the things, to the point where I had to start from December. I had an assignment, a government contract that I was doing from December the 1st, or ended December the 1st. And I was going to resume seeing clients and things. After that, I had to give myself a month. I could not see clients. I could not pour. I could not support. I could not help anyone on their journey at that particular time. I had never experienced anything like that.
So I just want to interject here, because you're sharing your story and I know it's resonating. I would like for Shavon and I to just take a moment to speak to what it was like during that particular time.
Please, from your perspective,
to be your sister during that time, because
it's good.
Knowing, because we talk, so knowing that you were dealing with perimenopause, and I'm looking forward to you helping us with the distinction, but perimenopausal symptoms, but also knowing the cloud that had been over your head before Spain, while you were in Spain, and really trying to make the distinction between which is she dealing with, or not, just really being present for you in a way that, of course, allowed us to pray for you and just say that we are here for you if you need us, but then also to check in and to know that you don't even have the energy to respond sometimes. And we are your sisters. So if you're going to respond to anybody, it's going to be us. And
Absolutely.
So knowing that you don't have the energy, just being able to be present and know it ain't got, I didn't do nothing. It ain't got nothing to do with me. I need to be present for my sister in whatever way she needs me to be, even if it's to stand over here and wait for her to reach out her hand and say she needs something. And so that's really what, and then to just affirm you that the space you are in, be in it. Like whatever you need, don't do nothing you don't want to do. Don't talk to nobody you don't want to talk to. Like it was really just, and then, you know, us talking to each other. Did you talk to her yet? Did you talk to her yet? You know, checking in
sidebars going on
to make sure she was okay. So that was my experience. Did you want to add anything, Shavon?
Yeah, it was one of those things where I think when we came to visit you in Spain, I think you had shared some of these things with us. And so it helped to understand like what you had just come out of, so that when you mentioned it, like when you got back to the States and you were like, you just haven't been feeling yourself. It's like, okay, all right, so let me just make sure I check in, you know, with her or whatever. And so like just the vibrant person that you are, and seeing just that, the low mood and low energy and just not feeling yourself, it just made that compassion and just like, oh, I just want to make sure she's good. Even if I say just, hey, I'm thinking about you or something like that, like it just made me feel like that. And I remember that one moment where I was like, my Sherry not okay. When we had a Real Women event, and usually Sherry is just like laughing, very vibrant, you know, we're talking and just dancing and stuff like that. Sherry was sitting in the corner, you know, by her husband, not socializing anything. And it was just like, I knew that you were really going through, and there was nothing that we could do other than, like Trenace said, just let you know that we're here and we're checking on you and we love you, and just, you know, whatever you need, we're there. So
absolutely. And that is so important. And I'm going to again expound on just having that support from individuals that understand. A lot of times you don't even have to go into all the details, but for them to know that you're not okay. Right. And that allows them to give you the space that you're needing. Right. And also be able to show up without, because this energy when you're in that type of mental space, it takes enormous energy just to get out of bed, just to get in the shower, just to go to the grocery store. More or less mustering up the energy to try to appease or try to be something that is not in you. And so have spaces that you're understood. You may not understand all the details, but you understand enough that, okay, she's going through, and let me give her the space that she needs. Right. It's so important.
Well, I want you to I know that there's some resolution that you want to get to about your story, and then I want to make sure we get that clarity between the two, because everything I'm hearing while you're talking, I'm like, that sounds like depression, but that's connected to menopause. And so I've got thoughts about that, but I want you to finish. So
and I think even getting to talk about some of the differences is going to lead me up to that resolution. So it's going to be all sort of intertwined in that. And so just to wrap things up. So literally from November to maybe around February, I remember it was right before Valentine's when things started to lift. And for me, and I know that because my husband and I wanted to go see One Love, the Bob Marley movie. So I had enough energy to go see the movie. I had set an appointment to get my hair rebraided. I remember canceling one time because I didn't have the energy to go, the mental energy. I'm not talking about just the physical, I'm talking about the mental energy, just to sit. And even, I don't care if we didn't talk a lot, just to have any type of conversation, you know, type of thing. And I remember getting my hair braided. So that's when things started to lift for me once again, you know. And so it has been, and so from February, I would say all the way up until like April, it was like, okay, I'm feeling a little more like myself. I'm feeling a little more like myself. Okay, I'm feeling a lot more like myself. Okay, I'm back, you know, type of, you know, I'm back, you know, type of
we
thing.
Were like, Sherry is back.
I am back, and I'm gonna try to, because I don't want to get too emotional right now describing that, but you guys, when you have those times that joy is easy to access. You're your passions, your purpose is obtainable. Maximize and optimize those opportunities. And so I'm gonna stop there because that's the part of some of the another part that I want to get into. So the question is, you know, along this pathway, many times I was asking myself, Sherry, are you depressed? Or does this have to do with I know I'm perimenopause just because of my irregular cycle, right? But as far as the psychological, it was very hard for me to differentiate, right? And so to understand a little better, let me start with just defining some quick terms, okay? When you hear the word menopause, menopause literally means that a woman's cycle has come to an end. You cannot be, so
no, that makes sense.
On the organic,
there is a pause on the ministry.
So that means that, and it literally means that you have to go 12 months consecutively without a cycle to be considered menopausal if your body is doing things organically. Now, there's certain procedures, people have hysterectomies and different procedures that may push a person into menopause without those particular things, right? But menopause literally means to go 12 months without a cycle, and then you're considered menopausal. Before that is the perimenopausal. So literally it's the menopause transition. And so that's when you find yourself experiencing your cycle. If you were regular, your cycles become more irregular, less likely to be able to pinpoint when it's starting. You may even have heard the word premenopause, which confused me. I'm like, what is the difference between perimenopausal and premenopause? Well, premenopause is usually in the early stage of perimenopause. It's like when your cycle first starts becoming irregular. So maybe a difference between like 7 days, 10 days or so that you're off. Where in perimenopause is sort of the latter stage, and peri means around. So it's like around the time of menopause. So I'm definitely, honey, I'm right around the corner, right? And waiting to be, to be perfect.
Well, let me tell you. So that's so helpful for me, because we say menopause and just make that blanket statement. But I, you know, and reading more about it as I've been experiencing it, I know I'm in peri, you know, well, I was in peri, and I ended up in menopause because I had my fibroids removed more than once. And the last time they took them out, they were like, listen, unless you know you're going to have some kids, let us come get that stuff out of you. And so I was like, go on and get my equipment. Go ahead. So that took me all the way into menopause, where I don't have to worry about a period anymore. And I'm going to tell you, with the pain that I was having with periods, take it
away.
So anyway, I have mixed feelings, but take it. So that's so helpful. The definitions are helpful. Thank you.
Absolutely. So with perimenopause, again, you have the irregular cycles, and even menopause, like menopause and perimenopause, some of the like the hot flashes will still force persist basically, and some of the other things that a woman may be going through. Now, I've heard many women say, and of course we know each pathway is different. There are so many nuances that are specific to one's menopausal, perimenopausal journey. But a lot of women say that once they get into menopause, that certain symptoms do become less intense. Maybe not right away, but eventually, right? Type of thing. So with the perimenopause and the menopause, we're dealing with hormones, right? So we know about the estrogen. Estrogen is in charge, or is it controls basically, or it produces and stores eggs, right? And or helps to do that in our ovaries, right? And also has to do with controlling our cycle. And so when we're getting older, our body is producing less of the estrogen. So that's why your cycle is becoming less regular, because really menopause, it means that the ovaries are stopped functioning the way that they were designed to function initially, because that has to do with
Sherry. Come on,
break it down. Listen, what they told me in the physical ed class was just that your body think it's about to have a baby every year.
Right.
Say, okay, ain't no baby there, ain't no egg and
And it
sperm there.
releases.
So all the blood get let out.
That's right.
That was all I heard.
That's all we know, right? So yes.
I was like, thank God I'm not pregnant.
Right. Amen.
Amen.
So yes. So when we get to the stage, our ovary stops functioning, the estrogen levels, and along with other hormones such as progesterone and testosterone, those things shift basically, in our bodies.
Balance and imbalance with all
exactly,
of it.
exactly. And so the thing about estrogen, it affects so many parts of our bodies, you guys. If you think about hormones and neurotransmitters, hormones has to do with, again, the estrogen, those type of things we've been talking about. When we're talking about the mind, like depression, you think about neurotransmitters. Both are chemical messengers. Okay? So both carry messages from one part of your body to another, usually from the brain. The brain is the main source, it's the wizard of our bodies, right? And so it tells the rest of the body what to do. And so both hormones, get this, and neurotransmitters are chemical messengers.
Wow.
Sometimes there are hormones and neurotransmitters that play the same role.
Oh, Lord.
Okay. So dopamine, if you heard of dopamine, which is a neurotransmitter.
That's wonderful.
Right. And it's also a hormone. Norepinephrine is also a hormone and a neurotransmitter. Okay. So chemical messengers, you think about chemical messengers, hormones, and neurotransmitters. When you think about neurotransmitters, think about the mind, things that affect the mind. We're talking about mental health. When you think about hormones, think about every other thing, from your digestion system, from your skin, from your bones, urinary tract, reproduction, growth, metabolism. So estrogen affects all of those particular parts. It's part of the endocrine system, basically, right? It's responsible for growth, metabolism, and our reproduction, right? And so with the neurotransmitters, it's a matter of how they travel and where they travel. So neurotransmitters basically go from one nerve cell to another, and through this thing called the synapse, basically. And so that's how it, for lack of a better word, metabolized or secreted, that gets into our system, basically. One nerve cell to the other. With hormones, it is secreted through the blood, through blood flow.
Wait, you're making some connections now. You're making some connections. Wow.
So blood flow, right? And so a lot of times, again, being that they're both messengers that affect your mind, right? It's just how they're secreted in your body, whether it's the blood or through the nervous system, right? In your brain, the symptoms can feel so overlapping. So for perimenopause, we talked about some of the signs and symptoms already, right? And I'm going to stick with clinical depression. I'm going to say clinical because what I'm describing more so aligns with that, right? Clinical depression. So with clinical depression, there are 5 symptoms that need to exist, 5 symptoms or more, okay? And I'm going to name the symptoms that need to exist in the same 2-week period to be diagnosed with clinical depression.
Okay.
When we clinicians go by what we call DSM-5, which
we're going to school today.
Right? So some of those 5 symptoms can be, depressed mood, what we call anhedonia, which is the loss of pleasure or loss of interest. And so with clinical depression, either anhedonia has to exist, or depressed mood along with 4 other symptoms. Like those things, either one of those things have to exist. Okay. So depressed mood, loss of interest, You can experience sleep disturbance, right? So either a lack of or sleeping too much or excessive sleep, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can far experience weight gain or weight loss, right?
Mm-hmm.
All of these things, you guys, can be the same thing with perimenopausal.
You ain't said nothing different.
And again, it's because of those overlapping, the hormones and the neurotransmitters really playing some of the similar roles and things, right? Okay. So, and then, you know, there's other things. Of course, we know about the suicidal ideations and things of that sort when it comes to depression, but it has to be 5 symptoms or more that exist in the same 2-week period. Depressed mood or lack of interest or pleasure has to be present, has to be one of those symptoms.
Okay.
So let me break down some of those symptoms, how just looking back, began to differentiate.
Before you do that, I got one more thing I want to say, because I'm learning so much. I just want to say, before you get deep into the depression, clinical depression symptoms and how they affected you, I was just thinking about how complex our bodies are. I'm gonna just say as women, because the men, I have not heard them having to deal with. I just want to vent for a second that they have. Why come our transmitters and our estrogen? Like, why come all of this is happening in our bodies? Like, just why come?
It's a lot.
I just wanted to get it out.
It's more than a lot.
It's a lot.
Tony was so supportive. Tony's my husband. Supportive during this time. But when I say I was side-eyeing him, because I'm like, why is it that I am going through all of these things?
Yeah.
You know, it is, And I mean, our bodies are beautiful, but it goes through a lot. It goes through a lot.
The only other thought I had is that they are so, I know you're about to do more, but they are so similar right now. And when you were talking about the loss of blood at the very beginning of this, I was thinking, like, if you are losing your lifeblood at big volumes, it has to affect like your mood and your, you know, your emotions. Like, there has to be some mental and emotional stuff happening.
Absolutely.
So,
let me just name, and I took notes because I can't remember this, but let me just name some of the areas in our body that estrogen affects. Okay. So estrogen is a primary function to the development of the secondary sexual characteristics in the female, right? So, and we talked about what it does, but the parts that it affects are breasts, endometrium, menstrual cycle regulations, pubic underhair, hair growth, sexual desire, erectile function, lipid metabolism. So that's why a lot of times in perimenopause and menopause, you have the weight gain, brain function,
depression too.
Bone health, absolutely. Literally, in a perimenopause brain, you could go and take an MRI. The brain has shifted the composition, so you literally can see the difference between your pre-perimenopausal brain and the brain afterwards. Literally, skin health, menstrual cycle, reproductive tract, urinary tract. So that's why at this stage in life, honey, I got to watch how hard I laugh. You hear me? And how intense my sneezes are. Sometimes it's a squirt and sometimes it's a trickle. Absolutely.
I've heard a woman say that.
Yes. Some of the Kegel exercise can solve that. We'll get into that. But heart and blood flows. You'll hear ladies talk about heart palpitations. And so literally every receptor is the part that receives those messages. So everything that flows, and God has made our bodies just so intricate and just so amazing. Every single function that you can think of has a messenger that sends it and has something that receives it, basically. So estrogen affects almost every single messenger and message receiver in our bodies. That's why we go through so much. So some of the ways that I could relate to some of the differences when we talk about the loss of pleasure, the loss of pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
So with me, it was very similar because I've experienced clinical depression before, and and obviously perimenopause. So I said, what is the difference? Because, you know, both, I did not have the energy to do the things, the energy to do the things that I used to. So I sort of use the analogy with perimenopause, you guys, it is like I'm wanting to run. I can see myself running, but my leg is broken and I'm on crutches. So I have the desire to run. I can visualize running, but I don't have the capability. I just cannot do it.
You breaking this down.
With clinical depression, it's almost like that broken leg. All I can feel is the excruciating pain. There is no, I can't even visualize. I can't connect. There is a total cut off for me. This is my personal experience.
So with clinical depression, with the analogy, would you even want to run? Even with the broken, okay, got it. That helps me. Yep. Yeah, that helps me. Yeah. So with menopausal symptoms or perimenopausal symptoms, you'd want to run, but your leg won't let you. With clinical depression, you can only focus on the pain of your leg and you don't even want to run. Okay.
Absolutely.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. That helps me. I want to ask something, and I know you'll circle back to add to whatever you need to add, because this is so good. We're going to switch up our segments. This is going to be our segment. We're going to do this and then do our spiritual nugget. So I want to, if you could start infusing, because I'll add my 2 cents right here and then pitch it back to you. If you could start infusing how you are coping or how you have coped with it, because for me, I think we cannot, for any one person listening or watching, we cannot diagnose you. So the answer to that question is literally, I think you have done an excellent job as a licensed psychotherapist. You have done an excellent job of helping us understand both with the clinical language as well as some analogies and your own story to help us make some distinctions. At the end of the day, you got to go see somebody if you're trying to make a distinction. And so for me, I don't know if I've dealt with clinical depression. I have been a functional person who was, had the emotional feelings of depression. And I have definitely dealt with perimenopause, and I do see how they're similar. And so there are tons of different ways that, fans for the biological, physical stuff, as well as, and you said you were going to mention some other ones because the fan is the biggest one for me because I had hot flashes, like big hot flashes, but lack of sleep. So really not being able to sleep well. And so having to put like the little things in my ears and maybe do some white noise or brown noise to just block things out, putting a sleep mask on just to really let my body know it's dark, it's nighttime. And so those kinds of things help me. And then all of the things, just watch as many episodes, listen to as many episodes as you can in the previous, because we've talked about coping skills when it comes to dealing with emotional stuff throughout all of these. So, meditation and all of the things that can help me, have helped me, yoga, exercise, all of those things have helped me with depression. I just want you to infuse, because I know you're going somewhere, some of the coping stuff, because I want to make sure that the person who's listening to us, like, dang, like, good Lord,
right?
Me too. What the hell? What I gotta do? Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So some of the ways, and again, the coping is a very individualistic type of thing. What works for one may not work for the other. I always say to treat identifying what works for you as this exploratory type of adventure or journey, of finding things that you gravitate towards. On that journey, you're going to find, like somebody might say, well, breathing is amazing for me. And other people like, or meditation. Other people like, I can't even keep my mind, still for a second. you know, type of thing. And so that's not for me. But even whether you're finding something that does not work or works, to me, that either one is a good thing, because the more that you find that does not work, it's going to continue to propel you towards those things that do. And my thing is to try to find as many tools to put in your toolbox, type of thing, right? And so with perimenopause, it looks a little different from me or for me than when I was in depression. There was, you know, a lot of similarities and some differences as well. One of the things is that it's really, really important, which you guys started out with, is to surround yourself with individuals that you feel safe with sharing as much as or as little of your story as possible. Because even though you may not value or you may not connect to how important that is in the moment, getting through to the other side, it becomes critical. Because when you're in those particular states of mind, whether you're talking about perimenopause or the depression, that you cannot see necessarily, like what you feel does not always align with what the reality or the truth is.
That's so good.
Those individuals become a reflection of things that you can't see.
That's good.
Become a really a symbol of hope type of thing, right? And so even though with me, because I'm not a phone, you guys know I'm not a phone talker, right? And so I'm not a type of person that I like to do a lot of talking on the phone. And so in these particular states, it's really, really hard for me to pick up the phone. It's like someone asking me to pull out my tooth. That's what it feels like. It's like that hard.
Yeah.
But even if an individual is like, you know, Sherry, call me, or I'm thinking about you, or whatever ways to show support, even though I can't really, because I'm so in a hole, I can't really connect with that in a totality, appreciate it fully. That is like fuel that you don't know that you need to get you through, because it is a lonely pathway. You can be surrounded by 50 of the people that you love, that love you the most, and you still feel very lonely.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's really nothing, like Shavon says, nothing that you can say to me to make me feel less lonely in the moment.
Yeah.
However, when there are those moments of those sobering type of thoughts, you know, when my mind is battling, like when I'm feeling lonely and I want to say, oh, no one cares about me. Well, she reached out. What you talking about? It's almost like you have a evidence to sort of to challenge those particular irrational thoughts, right? And so not to, and what I tell people, when you're in that psychological state that you're battling, that is not the time to do a lot of deep thinking.
Right. That's good.
It's not the time. Your particular priority is to surround yourself by the people, places, and things that is going to provide a level of comfort and safety for you.
Oh, this is so good.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times people want to do a lot of deep thinking and try to figure out, that is not, there's going to be a time for that. But in the beginning, you need every energy and ounce just get to the point where if you are, you know, going through certain thought process or certain information that is helpful, that you're able to process it with a clear mind. When you're in pain, whether it's physical pain, emotional pain, you don't have the greatest clarity. So why am I going to sit here and try to disseminate certain things when I'm not even clear? You know?
If I could, you Shavon first. Go ahead.
I'm so glad we're having this conversation, and it's been so helpful to like have, you know, these conversations with you, Sherry, and just to hear your experience and what you're going through, because on some levels, I'm like, oh my God, this feels scary. I don't want to go through any of this. But at the same time, I appreciate the knowledge, because if whatever symptoms do come up for me as I go through the process, I'll have an idea of or just more information, more awareness, like, okay, maybe this is what's happening.
Right.
So that, because I can go in my head and spiral, you know, downward and just be thinking and overthinking. So to hear you say that is so helpful, but it's hearing this information, which is like, okay, so this is probably what I'm going through. So let me take, you know, note of this kind of stuff. So it just made me think about that. So I need to have more of these conversations.
Absolutely, we do.
And I literally was thinking the exact same thing. I swear that all three of us are sisters, because I was thinking, we have talked often on this podcast about how we overanalyze. We tend to overanalyze, and this is a part of that. And it gives you a point of reference for you to know, like, okay, no matter what I'm telling myself, the crazy thoughts that I'm having, this is biological. Whichever one I'm dealing with, whether it's perimenopause, menopause, or whether it's clinical depression, some people will make you think you are crazy because you are depressed. It is a biological and mental thing that is physically going on in your body. And so you have a point of reference when you have these conversations, like you said. So that was the exact same thought I had.
Yeah. And just a reminder, of course, I'm describing what my experiences are. Sometimes a person won't even go through near these type of significant, intense experiences in their journey. It does vary, but we need to have the conversations, like you said, just in case, you know, hope that you won't, you know, experience it. Your experience will be different than mine, but just in case, at least you have the knowledge to know that I'm not just crazy. I'm not just, you know, making things up, which is another part of the support that is needed. So one, we talked about seeing a physician. You know, it's really important for you to have a doctor that you trust, that you can collaborate with, not a dictatorship that's going to tell you what's going on in your body, or dismissing what you are telling them, dismissing your narrative, I should say. Okay. Of course, they went to medical school and they have the training and the experience, but that's your body. You know, and so to have a person that you're able to advocate for yourself, and they welcome that, and it's a safe space is so important, right? I have heard so many stories where women are around the age of perimenopause. The average age, they say, is like between 40 and 44, you know, type of thing, but it can happen as early in the 30s type of thing, right? Or perimenopause can last 6, 8 years, 10 years. So it varies with that. But I have a lot of women that are in that time frame. They're going through some of these symptoms, and the doctors are dismissing them because of whatever test that they have in the moment. The hormones are not showing the shift. Hormones can change from moment to moment, hour to hour. You know, type of thing. And so to get to it with a physician that can listen to you, listen to your symptoms, and at least educate you on possibly what to expect. Also, obviously, you know, with a professional, a therapist, or if not a therapist, a group, maybe a group that you relate to, right? Because I think it's powerful for our narratives around this topic, because it's not something that's tangible. It's not something that is well understood. There's so many nuances. So anytime that you can put yourself in a space where your narrative can be heard, valued, and understood without guilt, is really, really important, right?
If that ain't a real women plug, I don't know what is. Want to put that plug in there.
There you go, right?
Exactly what we do. Real quick, Shavon, did you have a thought?
I was just going to say, I know we have to wrap up in a little bit, but can you share the other terminology that you mentioned that was the opposite, not depression, but what you learned, the other term for the perimenopausal, what we were talking about over the weekend that you discovered?
Absolutely. So it's called languishing, right? And so languishing, it doesn't, I went back to reread the article. It doesn't necessarily connect directly to perimenopause. A lot of the symptoms that the psychologist describes in this article relate. So in other words, it was not a study based on perimenopause, but from that, we extrapolated a lot of correlating information, but it's called languishing. And so what he did, he noticed that a lot of individuals after COVID or during COVID were describing certain symptoms that they didn't feel quite depressed, but they described it as blah. I just feel blah type of thing, right? And so some of the things that he was naming is that individuals just becoming bored at the mundane routine type of thing. I'm not just talking about being isolated with certain things, but just with life in general, whether it's your job or some of the things that you may have been interested in before. Some of those things just lose meaning or purpose type of thing. This seems like you're just going through the routine and you cannot, as far as attach the meaning or the connection, you know, with it. So and good. Then, and not the sadness, but just like a blah, like a numb type of feeling, you know, that comes along with it sometimes, which again, a lot of that relates to the perimenopause as well.
Yeah, that's so good. I know, because I still have a million questions in my head. So I know we've said this with every guest, you got to come back at some point.
So much information surrounded by this.
Yeah, we got to do
again.
Like we have to do a part 2 because there's so much that we
It is so much. It really is.
Yeah, so much. And I think if there was any place to land the plane with this is that whether it is perimenopause, whether it is menopause, clinical depression, languishing, like wherever you are on the spectrum of dealing with some physical symptoms, emotional symptoms, mental issues, things that are connected to your cycle or your, you know, how you're feeling, can't get out of bed, whatever that is. One, I heard you say, see someone, but also know your body, listen to your body, honor what you are feeling, and make sure that you express that and get in a community of safe.
Absolutely.
Whether it's your sisters, whether it's an established community already, or whether you even connect with us. I'm wondering, that feels like so much good information, as well as some coping and some things that you could possibly do to address it, at least at this part 1 level. I want to transition this into our spiritual nugget, because what I see is that where any woman who is dealing with, because we've dealt with, all 3 of us have dealt with the fibroids and the, you know, some onsets of some things, that you need some anchoring. You need some anchoring to deal with wherever you are on the spectrum. And so I would ask what your quick spiritual nugget would be. And I do want to ask all 3 of us to just really hone in, and I'll save you for last, Sherry. Just wondering what your quick, based on this wonderful discussion, what would be the nugget of wisdom or inspiration or motivation, or even challenge that you would give us, Shavon?
I think what I'm taking away from this conversation is surround yourself with supportive women who are transparent and vulnerable enough to share their experiences. Because I can't say enough how appreciative I am of the both of you just being honest about what you've gone through and some of the womanly things that we experience in our bodies, in our emotions, in our mind, you know, and it's just been, I'm so grateful for that. And it just helps to equip me for whatever I may experience. I don't know, but at least I have sisters that I can reach out to for support. So I'm grateful for that.
Good. So good. And I would just add to that what has already been said. Sherry said it so eloquently. I just want to say, you know your body best. Like what we've been talking about from episode to episode is that we get the opportunity to be students of our own bodies of ourselves, and honor that. Like, whatever you're feeling, if something doesn't feel right, you know, just honor that. Look into it, talk about it. Don't keep it to yourself. You don't have to live in isolation, and you don't have to live in silence.
So good. And what my spiritual nugget is, and really quickly with it, because this is really important with a coping mechanism. A lot of times you may not have the energy to meditate and do certain things, pray or whatever. Whatever you can do,
talk about it.
Do that.
Yeah.
So in other words, if my routine is just getting out of bed, showering, going to work, coming back, and getting in bed, maybe binging on Netflix in between, let me make it real, then that's what I'm going to stick to doing until I have a little more energy. Don't put so much weight on yourself. Give yourself grace along the way. And my nugget that I wanted to share is so tied into both of what you guys are saying. I am the girl that has a hard time asking for help or help me keep it together.
Yeah.
And I had to ask myself, why, Sherry? Why is it so hard for you to ask for help? Why is it so hard for you to be transparent when you are struggling? And what I can say is that the more that I have grown in accepting all of my flaws and understanding that perfectionism is unrealistic and all that journey to that, it's become less hard. And even my journey of being living from a place of authenticity has become less hard, but it's still challenging.
Yeah.
So I asked myself, why? And I realized that I was connecting the burden, the weight that I was carrying to my identity. So in other words, I related to my identity as being the carrier of the weight. That was what my energy and focus was. So it sounded like this in my head. Why can't you get your shit together? You're a helper of people. How do you expect to help other people and you can't even get yourself together?
Yeah.
You know, you're supposed to be strong. Why can't you figure this thing out? So my energy was being poured into me as the carrier of the weight versus the entity of the weight that I was carrying. Let me put this back into support. I realized that how I carried the weight was going to determine whether that weight built me up in the end or while I was carrying it, or whether it was going to break me.
Hear
me. Right? So the thing that most determines how I was going to carry the weight is this thing called support.
Yeah.
Let me just give me a minute to break it down. When you are lifting actual weight, let's go into the gym right now. If you're lifting actual weights, you need support to carry the weight, because what that support looks like is going to determine whether it overthrows you. In other words, if I'm on the bench, if I'm pressing, if I'm doing a bench press.
All the spotter. Go ahead, girl.
There you go. And I don't have a spotter around me, right? And the spotter is not to carry my weight. The spotter is to be there just in case that weight comes down on me. Just in case I don't have the strength to put that weight bar back up to the resting place, right? And so if that spotter is not there, what happens? That weight can crush me.
Yes.
Right? It can incapacitate me. Right? Even when you're talking about how the weights are created, those pulleys and those stands are designed to support the weight that you're carrying.
Yes.
And so I had to, again, focus on the weight, understanding. I had to lean into this thing more with a curiosity, not giving myself grace.
Yes, no judgment. No judgment.
Absolutely. And grace, a lot of people can't connect to because they feel that, you know, it's giving yourself a pass, or I'm not going to have the motivation to stay there. That has nothing to do with grace. Grace means that I'm deserving, whether I am on a platform like that or laid up in my bed, I'm deserving of love. I'm deserving of patience. I'm deserving of understanding.
Child. Child. Listen. Woo! Your last minutes were your premiere minutes, child. Good Lord, good Lord.
This has been so good.
I know y'all know somebody who needs to hear this episode. I know you do. I know I needed to hear it. I know you needed to hear it. But I know you know someone who needs to hear it. And yes, it is longer for a reason. Somebody needs to dig into what you need to know is we are some intelligent women. We know how to kiki, but we know some stuff here. Listen, and so please share this with someone who needs to just know they are not by themselves, and to hear the depth of how the two are connected, so that no matter which one you end up being diagnosed as dealing with, or even if you don't know, you just know, regardless of those, I can cope, I can deal, I can find support, I can validate and value my experience enough to talk about it. We want you to do that. So please make sure that you get the support that you need. Share this with someone. We would love for you to let us know how this has helped you. Please go to speakpipe.com/real women, real talk. We got to come back to this. We will figure it out. We'll let y'all know. But we're going to come back to this. And I will add, if you have questions that you would like us to address related to this, maybe you heard a lot, but you didn't hear exactly what you needed to hear, please send us a question at speakpipe.com/real women, real talk. You can talk to us there, or you can just send us an email at info@realwomenrock.org. Either way works for us. And then the last thing I'll say before we thank this amazing woman is, we started with this, but please go to our website, realwomenrock.org. We are doing amazing work, helping to create safe spaces for women to do personal development work, soul work on themselves. And we do that by connecting with each other in a real and meaningful way, growing our personal confidence in who we are and who we are created to be, and then becoming a catalyst of change. All of us have committed ourselves, all three of us have committed ourselves to not just grow on our own, but to help somebody else grow. And you get to do that as you are growing and spread that love. So we want you to learn and grow and spread that love as well. We can help you do that at realwomenrock.org. We have sister circles, and in November, we are having our Real Women Intensive. And I already know it. We're going to have an amazing episode where we bring as many of our sisters together as we can. And we're just going to tell you how amazing this intensive is. But go to the website, go to /intensive. So realwomenrock.org/intensive, and just see all the goodness that is there. We have more information to share with you. We will in future episodes, so please come back. For now, we want to thank you, Sherry. This was, woo, Sherry. Shavon, what was it? What did we just experience?
It was informative. It was relatable, and it was a necessary conversation that we need to have more of.
Yeah.
I'm so honored to be here. I so appreciate you guys providing the space. I know it's a lot of information, viewers and listeners and things, but please, if you have questions, write in, and we will definitely get the resources and the information that you need.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
We love y'all so much. We are so appreciative that you spent this time with us. Please follow, like, share, do all the things. And we will see you all next episode. Love y'all.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.